We're back with another one of these dollar videos. This time we're going to talk about Btk Killer, from the director of The Boogeyman. And right away, this cover is one of those, remember that guy who did that one thing that you think you might have liked? Well, he did this one. And they're banking on you not knowing which boogeyman they're talking about. Because it's not this boogeyman, which I have seen. This boogeyman is directed by a man named Stephen K. This movie isn't good by any means, but it was entertaining. I've watched this at least 3 times before. It's very surreal, very entertaining. It's just worth something to watch when you got nothing else to do in the middle of the night and you want something on while you're doing something else, or just want to watch it, whatever. This is worth watching. This is a decent film, and this is the one I was thinking of when this thing here said, from the director of The Boogeyman. Well, this isn't the same Boogeyman. The Boogeyman is, I believe, a 1980s to 1990s, somewhere around that time period. There was a movie directed by this man, the man known as Uli Lomel. It was directed by that man back in those time periods. It's a film I've never seen. I know nothing about it. I know nothing about this director, and I should have known better. But I was interested. I was interested in this guy, and I believe it's based off a real person, because that's what it says here, based on the true story of one of history's most twisted serial killers. As you can actually read here, because the quality isn't actually terrible. But this film, it's not. It's definitely indie. It's definitely indie. Now, you wouldn't think so when you look on the spine here, and it says Lionsgate. Well, I've made that mistake before. Lionsgate tends to be the releaser, whatever party, the releasing party, the acquisition party of all these small, tiny little people that you've never heard of. And Lionsgate is the one going like, oh, we'll release it, we'll put our name on there, we'll release it, they'll think it's from us, and it's bad reputation, but you'll think it's from them. It's not. It's from more likely these two here, and they're very small. I'm going to try to see if I can read this. Strategic Film Partners and The Shadow Factory. That was really small and really hard to see right here. This little piece right here where I'm pointing. It's really small. You see, it's just so small. I've already forgotten what I just said. But they're two very forgettable small people, and it's by a person I've never heard of. So of course it's going to be one of those movies, which means it's one of those you would expect to have been released by, say, Echo Bridge or something. Echo Bridge Acquisitions, give us all your garbage and we'll release it on DVD type of people, right? You'd be wrong, surprisingly. Echo Bridge has nothing to do with this. They have nothing to do with the release of this film. Btk Killer is solely on the fault of Lionsgate. There are a bunch of movies released based off this person. I have another one in my stack somewhere called The Hunt for the Btk Killer. And this one more covers the Btk Killer's killings back in the 70s or whatever. I know nothing about this killer, so I don't know any of the historical accuracies. I can just tell you the years that the film said it took place in. And it takes place in 2 time periods. Present day 2004 and in the past, the 1970s, where the BTK goes around doing his thing. And I'll tell you right away, the budget for this is almost non-existent. I'm not going to insult people for doing that. Independent publishers, I will always say, good. on you independent movies, good independent books, independent music, all of it. Independent men. You're not part of the system. You're not part of the big, But you have to be careful with that, because there's a lot of stuff that gets released independently that you might think, well, I get why it was, and this is one of those. Btk Killer has maybe one actor in it worth watching. The rest of them feel like they're not actors at all. That this may be their first time on screen. I can't confirm that. I didn't care to look any of that up. But the guy who plays Btk Killer in the 70s, the past version, I don't know if it's the present and the past version of the same person. Who knows if their makeup department could actually pull that off. But the 70s version, dude, it's essentially like an anthology film where we see BTK guy go into various homes and torture and have his little shtick with each person, with each victim. We see, I believe, at the very least, 3 victims, and they're very long segments, roughly around 5 to 10 minutes each. So you get a good half hour of BTK just pulling that crap off, and you've gotta get a good actor who's into the role to make it worth watching for 30 minutes. And they did get a good dude. The dude that played BTK, I have no idea what his name is. Perhaps he's on the back somewhere, but I couldn't confirm which one of these guys is BTK, but I'll read them off. There's 4 names here for the top billing actors here. We have Gerard Griesbaum, Eric B. German, Victoria Ullman, and Shyla Fernandez. Well, I could rule out these 2 right away, because these aren't the BTK dude. But so it'll probably either be Gerard Griesbaum or Eric B. German. I'm guessing the one that's got top billing, the first name here, is probably our BTK guy, Gerard Griesbaum. If that's incorrect, who cares? Either way, the guy who played BTK is very entertaining. He is very entertaining. He makes this film worth watching, because the segments with him where he does this little torture thing is very comical. It's very entertaining to watch, because the guy gets really into the role. You can really see him trying really hard. And that's the best part of these indie flicks, is when you find somebody in these films who is trying really hard. And you can tell, because the difference between a lot of these actors who don't give a crap, who aren't really trying, their acting is really stiff. It's like they're reading directly off a teleprompter, and they don't care what they're saying. They're not emoting it properly, and if they are emoting it, they're not emoting it well. But the guy they got to play BTK emoted really well. He captured a man who was really on edge, whom people just constantly got on his nerve, graded him and pushed him and all that stuff. He was a really weird character. And they also portrayed him as a family man in the other scenes where he's not doing his little shtick with his victims. They have him portrayed as a church-going family man, a father of 2 with his wife, and they're all normal. They're all painfully normal people. And that just goes to show how scary these types of killers are, is that these guys, the guys that hide in plain sight, they are so normal looking. They are so normal acting. They're so normal sounding that you would never know what they did for a hobby. And that's what this guy really pulled off in this acting here. The guy who they got to play BTK, which I believe could be Gerard Griesbaum. I don't know if it is or not. But if it is, bravo to you, man, because that made this movie. If he was not in this movie, and they got some other boring guy that most everybody else in here is boring, if they got some just random schmo to play the BTK, this film would not have worked. This film would not have been pulled off. I would have shut it off after about 20 minutes. But because this dude is in there and he was so interesting to watch, I played it from start to finish. This film is better than Blue Call, it's probably better than Righteous Villains, but it's just above those two. It is below absolutely everything else because of the pure fact that everything aside from the BTK guy, because you see a bunch of other people in here, there's a bunch of other people in here that you just don't care about. You don't care about any of them. But they're in the movie. You have to watch them, and it's like torture. So it's barely above Blue Call and Day of the Living Dead and Righteous Villains. I'm going to put it above those three. Everything else that's on the playlist so far as of the making of this video is superior to Btk Killer. If you are interested in the even slightest in the performance of the dude that plays Btk Killer in this movie, feel free to watch this film. I have no idea where it could be streaming, but if you've got a dollar store nearby, it just might be there. Be imaginative, everybody.